I'd like to introduce this program today by just saying a couple of words to you. When I was your age, the scourge of the disease that we most feared was tuberculosis. TB was a disease that was epidemic, and a couple of my friends, in fact, contracted the disease, but through the miracle of a cure, the Salk vaccine, TB has been almost totally eradicated, although a new strain of TB apparently has reappeared. Polio was the disease that the Salk vaccine cured. And it was polio that took my uncle and my cousin, both of whom survived the disease, but didn't survive it as full people, but rather as people with noticeable limps and with some degree of immobility for the rest of their lives. The disease that we're here to talk about today is a much more insidious and dangerous disease than polio or tuberculosis, perhaps even cancer, because it's a disease that can infect almost anyone, even without you knowing it. It's a disease that started out comfortably in the comfortable zone of many people as a homosexual disease, a disease of the gay community. But it's a disease that we know now has become extremely virulent in the heterosexual community. I guess you can still say it's a lifestyle disease. It's a disease that makes all of us focus a little more in our lives on how we behave socially and sexually and how we use our bodies. And it's a disease that is very much on the mind of people, the faculty in this building, because this faculty cares a great deal about the young people that are in the building. And I won't go over some of the controversy that we've been over the past few weeks, but I certainly want to congratulate the group of teachers who have trained to present the AIDS HIV program to juniors, and because you demanded it to you as seniors. I want to put a plug in that tomorrow at the end of 7th period there will be a special activity period with a very special guest that I hope that you will deter your usual plans and stay for. He's a gentleman who has AIDS, who can speak about AIDS not only from the textbook, but from the heart. I didn't happen to see him when he was on Chronicle 2 weeks ago, but I understand that he's quite a presence, and I'm sure that it will add to your education of the AIDS HIV virus. So I'm pleased that we have you here today. I'm pleased that Expression Theater is going to present a program to you that I know will move you if you listen to it and watch it closely. It's extremely factual and scientific. So sit back and I guess you can't say enjoy something like this, but learn from it. And hopefully if there are questions afterwards, some of the staff has been trained to answer those questions will do so. Thank you.
Education is the first step toward understanding this disease and helping to prevent the spread of AIDS.
Say, did you guys hear that Keith's brother's roommate's got AIDS?
If I were him, I'd get out of that real fast. It's such a scary disease. It's so contagious. It's so fatal.
But don't you feel bad for him? What if they're friends? He's gonna feel like a total jerk moving out on her.
It's better than being dead. And what if Keith would get it from his brother?
You can't catch AIDS from your brother, unless of course you sleep with them.
I heard he could get it from mosquitoes.
Not unless you sleep with them too.
Very funny, you guys. But seriously, my uncle, he's a doctor. And he knows a wicked lot about it. He was telling my mom about it the other day. You can't get it from shaking hands or sharing a beer with somebody who has it.
I don't believe that. Besides, they have no proof you can't catch it those ways.
You get it from having unprotected sex with somebody who's infected. Or you could be born with it. Or you could get it through a blood transfusion. But that doesn't happen a lot because they screen the blood really carefully now.
Well, what about donating blood?
No way. We use sterile needles when you give blood. It's only when druggies share contaminated needles that they're at risk.
I'm still not taking any chances of staying away from Keith as well as his brother.
Yeah, and you better watch who you sleep with too.
Very funny. Girls don't get
then maybe you aren't ready to sleep with that person.
Well, if you put it that way, I guess you're right. But what about deep kissing? You know, the really romantic kind? Spits and bodily fluid. Can you catch AIDS from kissing?
No way. You'd have to exchange 4 gallons of spit to have any risk of catching the virus. They say it can be born with HIV. That doesn't seem fair, does it?
Unfortunately, the HIV virus can be passed from mother to fetus during pregnancy. I guess there's more than your own life to be thinking of where HIV is concerned.
Hey, Bob, how'd you do on that chemistry test?
I don't know. It was kind of hard.
Oh, I didn't think it was that hard. Oh, you guys, I can't believe I forgot to tell you this. Guess who asked me out today?
Who? I'll kill him.
You know, Kim, that druggy ex-boyfriend of yours, the one that got you into all those drugs? I'm so glad you quit. Who, Rocco? Give me a break, Sherry. That was like 2 years ago.
Yeah. What a scumbag. You're mine now, baby. Aren't you glad I took away from all that trash?
Yeah, I'm real lucky, Bob. Look at all those babies. Oh, they're so cute. I can't wait to get married. Can you all shut up?
What the hell's up her butt?
I don't know. Maybe it's PMS.
Oh, don't be so insensitive. I'll go find out. Go ahead. I think you should tell him. Come on, Mark.
What's wrong? Come on, what's wrong? Sit down. What's wrong?
I'm pregnant, okay? I took a pregnancy test. I have to go talk to Dr. Mercy tomorrow. Hi, Kim. How are you feeling today? Oh, hi, Dr. Mercy. I'm okay. Do you have the results of my test?
Yes, Kim, I do. Why don't you sit down?
Something wrong?
Well, actually, Kim, there is.
What? What is it? Is the baby like messed up or something?
It's too early to tell something like that right now, Kim. You're definitely pregnant, but unfortunately, that's not all. Do you mind if I ask you some personal questions? You don't have to answer them if you're not up to it.
Well, I guess not. What do you need to know?
How long ago is it that you said you used drugs?
Well, I don't know exactly. About 2 years ago, I think.
And what type of drugs did you use? Did you smoke pot or did you use needle drugs like heroin?
Well, are you sure you're not going to tell my mom?
Not unless you allow me to, Kim, but you may need her support later on.
Damn, something must really be wrong with me.
Just please try and answer the questions for now.
Well, I smoke pot a lot, but I use heroin a few times too with my ex-boyfriend and all of his friends.
Do you remember if you used a clean needle or just share one with your ex-boyfriend?
Well, I don't really see why it matters, but usually we have one needle and I'll pass it around. Why?
Oh, Kim.
What's wrong with me?
When we did your pregnancy test, we also tested for sexually transmitted disease and the HIV virus like you asked us to.
Yeah?
We ran your blood sample through a Western blot test.
What's a Western blot test?
It's a test that searches for the antibodies that cause the HIV virus.
HIV? That's like AIDS. I don't want that. It's like a gay guy disease.
No, it's not. The HIV virus, the Western blot test, finds the antibodies for the HIV virus. The HIV virus is not AIDS. AIDS is a disease with symptoms, and HIV is a virus. There's a big difference. Now, unfortunately, you have tested positive for the HIV virus.
That means I'm gonna like die, right? I don't want to die.
You're not going to die for a long time. There's medication now that people can take to prolong their lives if they are HIV positive. Now, from what you have told me, you most likely got the virus through your intravenous drug use. But now you not only have yourself to worry about, but your baby and your boyfriend Bob, too.
Bob? What about him? Is he gonna have it?
Well, first of all, HIV might not develop into AIDS for years, or it may never turn into the disease. But if it does, there's a 20 to 30% chance that the baby will be born HIV infected. Now, unfortunately, Bob will have to be tested because obviously you've had unprotected sex, and having unprotected sex is one of the highest means of transmitting the virus.
My whole life is like falling apart just because of some stupid kid I used to go out with. Why was I so stupid?
Well, unfortunately, HIV doesn't discriminate, and it doesn't just affect people who are homosexuals or prostitutes or anybody. Now the hardest part is still ahead of you, Kim. You still should tell your mom, and Bob definitely has to be told. You're going to have to go through many more tests, and you also might want to consider other options you have concerning your pregnancy.
Like what?
Well, you do have the option of terminating the pregnancy, but that all depends upon you and Bob.
Well, can you maybe help me tell Bob?
Of course I will. I'll be here for you as much as you need me.
That's too bad for Kim. I mean, lots of people have sex. She just happened to get caught.
Yeah, that may be true. But there are ways to decrease the chances of spreading HIV and preventing pregnancy. The most effective way, besides abstinence? Condoms.
Becky, what's wrong? Nothing. It's okay. You can tell me. What's the matter? You wouldn't understand. Becky, you've been really weird the past couple of weeks. What's going on? Michelle, can I really trust you? Yes. 2 weeks ago, I went to the doctor's. You're pregnant? No. It's much worse. I tested positive for HIV. HIV? What are you talking about, Becky? You're drunk. You don't know what you're saying. Listen, I know I'm drunk. It doesn't matter. I know what I'm saying. I'm gonna die. With who? When? How? I guess it was with that kid last year on the ski trip. The one I warned you about? It doesn't matter now. What am I supposed to do? Well, have you given it to anyone else? No, of course not. I've used protection every... Oh my God. There was one time with Eric. With Eric? Well, you have to tell him. I can't tell him. He'll tell everyone, and they'll think I'm stupid or something. Well, he has to know. Forget it. I'm not gonna tell him. You just don't understand. I'm gonna go party.
Hey, bitch, up for a good time tonight? Groovy party, man. Lots of good stuff here. Hey, who'd you get to buy the cat?
Oh, my big brother bought it for me. He owed me one anyways, you know?
Cool beans, he doesn't even drink.
He doesn't need to drink to party.
Looks like I'm gonna have a good time tonight.
Hey, Rob, man. Got any extra room for Gina and I to go hang out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, go over there.
Thanks, Robbie.
All the guys here, why did Gina pick him? Anybody ever saw them in school, they'd wonder what slipped into her Cheerios.
It is a little weird.
You guys, I'm gonna puke.
Don't see you Monday.
Hey, Michelle. Cool party Saturday night, huh?
Yeah, I had fun. How was it for you?
Nothing special. Actually, I can't remember too much.
Gina, you've gotta stop drinking like that. One of these days you're gonna get yourself into a lot of trouble.
Leave me alone, Michelle. You're not perfect, all right? I don't need another mother.
Gina, I'm serious.
Well, I can take care of myself.
Hey, Gina. Have fun with Eric Saturday night?
Yeah, you're buying a ribbon too.
What'd you do with Eric?
I don't remember. Leave me alone, guys.
Are you sure you don't remember?
Yes.
So, how far'd you get with the lush queen?
What do you think, man? Remember who you're talking to.
Gina, I've gotta talk to you.
What now?
Well, I promised Becky I wouldn't say anything, but now it concerns you too. Becky's HIV positive.
What? How could that happen to Becky?
Because she slept with some guy that she didn't even know, and now look what happened. And she slept with Eric. And Eric says that he slept with you. Do you know what that means?
I didn't go that far, did I? I couldn't have, could I? I know I was drunk, but I wouldn't think that I'd do that. With him,
Well, I suppose you should know, but you're drunk all the time. You don't know what you're doing. You just have to talk to him about it.
Hey, Gina. These are a great time Saturday night. What are you doing this Saturday?
Eric, what exactly happened between us Saturday night?
Don't tell me you don't remember.
Did we have sex or not?
Yeah. Why? What's the problem?
Eric, Becky is HIV positive and you slept with her without using a condom and then you slept with me without using a condom. Do you realize what that means? You and I could both be HIV positive.
Is this some sort of joke?
No, face reality. This is where sleeping around gets you. Now what are we supposed to
going to see my doctor right now.
You should do the same.
Hello? Is this 1-800-235-2331? My name is Gina, and I don't know where else to turn to. I thought that the AIDS hotline could help me.
Not using a condom can sure get you in trouble. I'm glad I'm not sexually active.
Abstinence until you're absolutely sure about the person you're with is definitely a smart choice. But you know what's even smarter?
Yeah, being prepared and knowing what to do. It'd be a real bummer if you knew when you were going to use a condom, then not know how to use it. Talk about embarrassing.
Well, then let's go over it now.
No way.
No, I'm serious. Hold out your two fingers. Carefully rip open the condom, the package, making sure not to rip the condom inside. Place the condom over the penis. Hold the tip of the condom so that there's no air in it. Roll the condom down the erect penis as far as it will go. If it's a non-lubricated condom, you want to use non-oxyl 9. Non-oxyl 9 will help against pregnancy, sexually transmitted disease, and HIV, which causes AIDS. Condoms should be used in vaginal, anal, and oral sex. After you're done, while the penis is still erect, withdraw, holding the base of the condom. Carefully remove the condom, making sure not to spill. Condoms shouldn't be stored in wallets or near heat because they will deteriorate. And never reuse a condom.
Hey, thanks a lot.
No problem.
Hey, should we be concerned with that needle sharing thing? I mean, no one does heroin here at our school. Well, that I know of.
Needles are the issue, not heroin. It could be happening in our own locker room. Take a look.
Listen, Jeff, about last night.
Melissa, don't worry about it.
No, please just listen. I just wanted to let you know that it's not that I don't want to have sex with you. It's just that I don't think I'm ready to have sex with anyone yet.
Melissa, don't worry about it. Besides, you're probably right.
Thanks so much for understanding.
Hey, none of that!
You guys were incredible out there tonight.
Hey, what can we say? When you're the best, you're the best. Hey, nice job tonight, Brian. Thanks. You too.
What's up with him?
I don't know, he's probably just tired. Hey, Jeff, do you think your brother can get us some more roids for next weekend? We got that big game against Pittsburgh coming up.
Don't worry about it. I already got it covered. I figure 4 or 5 of us be able to use the same vial. It's supposed to be pretty potent stuff.
Sounds good to me. Sharing the vial between only 3 guys is getting a little expensive, if you know what I mean.
I can't believe this. How can I tell them? Why me? Why did I have to test HIV positive? I mean, I know all the facts. I use a condom every time I have sex. I'm not gay. I even ran the needle under a match to make sure it was sterile before I injected it. I have to let them know. The sooner the better, I suppose.
Hey, Brian, what's up? You look a little out of it tonight.
You could say that.
Well, do you want to talk about it or something? I mean, if there's anything I can do.
Hey man, you don't look so good, but we got some good news to cheer you up. My brother hooked us up with some more juice for your upcoming game. It's supposed to be pretty potent stuff. Maybe 4 or 5 of us able to use the same vial. Yeah, you know what I mean? Listen, Jeff, maybe we should stop this needle sharing thing, you know? We're at the risk of getting AIDS today and all.
AIDS? What are you talking AIDS? That's a gay guy's disease. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I highly doubt any of the guys on the team are gay. Or maybe Chris.
I don't know. It's just that. Brian, what's your problem? Without the juice, you have 0 chance of making it to the state. And besides, it's getting way too expensive to split it only 3 ways. If you just listen. Brian, cut the goody-goody act. I mean, if you're ever son this rich man and you want to pay our share, be my guest. Trust me, I'm paying for it already. I'm paying for it now for the rest of my life. All 2 years of it if I'm lucky.
What was that all about?
I don't know, come on, let's get a little freaky. Hey, Brian, what's with you?
tell you what's with me. Because it's probably with you, too. You want to know? I've tested positive for the HIV virus. That's what's with me.
What? What are you talking about, Brian?
I gave blood in school. They screened it with the Western blot test. They told me that I'm HIV positive.
This isn't funny. This is a sick joke because if you have AIDS, I have AIDS. And Jeff, what do you mean me too? We shared the same needle, stupid. Don't you know what that means?
But we sterilized it. We ran it through the flame and everything.
That doesn't do anything. It's the blood that's drawn back into the barrel of the needle first that counts.
But before Scott said that as long as we sterilized, everything would be okay.
I know what I said. I'm sorry. I didn't realize. Everyone makes mistakes sometimes.
You mean to tell me that all this time?
Look, don't blame it on Scott.
Yeah, it's not Scott's fault. Jeff, what were you thinking? You know how dangerous sharing needles is, especially in this day and age. And you were gonna have sex with me without letting me know about any of this?
Honey, Brian, Scott, and I have known each other since kindergarten. I mean, we're best friends. We've done everything together since we were little kids.
Yeah, including sharing the same contaminated needle.
You were the ones complaining it was getting so expensive. I didn't think it would happen to normal guys like us. I only thought it happened to those druggies in the inner cities or in the newspapers.
Open your eyes, Scott. I guess sharing needles between the three of us is a greater cost than we realize.
I feel so bad because they have someone else's blood with their body. I mean, blood transfusions are done all the time. That's how people feel in this situation.
Hi, Joanna. I asked you here today because we found a kidney donor for your transplant. Oh, really? Well, I guess I should be excited, Dr. Smith, but in fact, I'm a little scared. Why? What's the problem? Well, I've read that you can get the HIV virus and AIDS through blood transfusions or from other people's organs. Joanna, they do extensive research now before the donated blood and organs are even accepted. Yeah, but what about Stanley, my neighbor's son? He's a hemophiliac and he got AIDS through a blood transfusion. That's because he's a hemophiliac, and they were at a higher risk than anyone else because they received a blood product called factor VIII, which hemophiliacs need to stop any bleeding they may have. I'm sure that if you asked Stanley's mom, she'd tell you there's only the slightest risk in blood transfusion, and that your life is worth that risk. Think of it this way: if you don't get this kidney transplant, your life is going to be in severe danger. You should take this chance for your sake as well as for your friends and family. Yeah, maybe you're right. Thanks. Hi, Mrs. Brown. This is Joanna. Could you come over tonight and bring Stanley with you? See, I'm getting a kidney transplant, and I'm really scared about the HIV virus. And I need some advice and support, so I invited Sarah and Bea over too. Okay, thanks. Bye. Frank, what do you think about this? I mean, I don't want to upset Mrs. Brown or Stanley.
No, I'm sure it'll be fine. She's had to deal with the disease ever since Stanley's been infected, and that's been at least 10 or 11 years.
Yeah. Frank, how does all of this affect our relationship? I mean, should we start using a condom?
No way. You're the first person I ever had sex with.
You're the first person I've ever had sex with too. Oh, okay. Hi, Bea. Hi, Sarah. Come on in.
Hi. Hi,
Hi,
Frank.
Frank.
How you doing?
Oh, I'll get back. Hi, Mrs. Brown. Hi, Stanley. Thanks for coming. No problem. Hi, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Stan. All right. You all know I've called you here. I'm getting a kidney transplant, and I'm really scared about the HIV virus and AIDS. What do you guys think?
But what does a kidney transplant have to do with the HIV virus?
B, I'm going to have someone else's blood running through my body to replace all the lost blood. Never mind the donated organ, too.
Joe, I got infected 10 years ago through a blood transfusion. But since 1985, they've been screening the blood so carefully, it's almost 100% safe.
Yeah, but there's still that 1 in a million chance that I can get it.
Joe, science has come a long way in the past 9 years. I don't think you have anything to worry about.
I don't remember not having the HIV virus, so I couldn't tell you what it's like to find out you have it. Ever since I found out I've had AIDS, I've had to strive to get through each day. Sure, there are things I'd like to do, like go to school, not need a tutor, play sports, but it hasn't been that bad. I mean, if I die tomorrow, I've lived my life like I wanted to live it. You've got a bunch of friends here, and we'd miss you an awful lot if you died. So why don't you go through with the operation and risk that 1 in a million chance?
Stan, you're right. I don't have any other choice.
And just look at it this way. When you come out of surgery, we'll be the first people to see you.
Thanks, guys.
As it turns out, Frank had a previous sexual relationship with someone who had HIV and passed it on to Joanna.
We hope you've enjoyed our presentation on HIV and AIDS. Education is the first step in prevention. We all must spread this knowledge, not the virus. This isn't a joke. This is real. And the real fact is,
AIDS can kill.
Hi, my name is Bill Labonte, and I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Rachel Pitnoff, and I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Andrea Jamian, and I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Chris Dabrowski, I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Tina Borelli, and I'm a senior.
I'm Megan Gilbert, I'm a senior.
I'm Scott Grays. I'm a junior.
I'm Kara Garrettson, I'm a junior.
I'm Mark Sullivan, I'm a freshman.
I'm Will Innes, I'm a junior.
Lisa Lemon, I'm a junior.
Matt Conley, I'm a senior.
Maria Valentis, I'm a junior.
Adrian Ballinger. I'm a junior.
I'm Glenn Sullivan, I'm a senior. If any of you would like to ask any questions, either in character or out of character, we'd ask you not to ask personal questions, please. They aren't relevant. But if any of you have any questions, feel free.
Where should I sit? Could I, is this on? Could I also ask the teachers, the faculty that we're doing the AIDS HIV program for the juniors to come forward in case we need to have some assistance with questions? I also want to remind you all that the second part of this program will be tomorrow, activity period, which is the end of the day. It's going to be held where? The auditorium? It's going to be held in here. I encourage you all to come because that's going to be a very productive session. Is there anybody that wants to come? How many minutes do we have? Okay, we have about 20 minutes to answer any questions. Does anybody want to ask the first question? We have several people here, people that you should be familiar with, that went through an intensive AIDS HIV training program. They went through the same program that the Expression Theater kids went to with Dr. Jerry DeVoli, who was an AIDS educator specialist in the Department of Ed. So between all of us, we will try to answer some of the questions that you might have today. Does anybody want to start? Yes.
My question is this. I know that there are tests that are done where it doesn't show up, and I'm just wondering, is the AIDS virus the one that doesn't show up, or is it the HIV positive?
All right, let me repeat your question. You know that there's a test where it doesn't show up, and you want to know if it's the HIV test that shows up or the AIDS test that shows up, correct? All right. Do you want to try answering that question first? Glenn, is your mic live?
Yeah. HIV can take some time to produce antibodies in your body. And the test, the Western blot test, looks for the HIV antibodies. So you can have the virus in your system, but your body could not have produced the antibodies yet. And so you will test negative, but actually be HIV positive. And I think it's, what?
3 months.
Yeah, 3 months, 3 to 6 months that you have to wait to be sure that it, like if you don't test positive for 6 months in a row, well then you're pretty sure that you're negative.
Do any of the faculty want to add to any of that? Question? JP?
Two things I would add to it is that it's important to understand that with the test for HIV, that you can test a false positive but not a false negative. So that if you test negative, you know that you're negative. You do not have the disease. But if you test false, you can test positive and be a false positive, so you need to be retested. Also, on that issue, we are going to put up posters with all the testing sites. There are testing sites. You can be tested free of charge or on a sliding scale, many different places. All the testing is done confidentially. You do not, your name is not divulged to anyone. When you are tested, you can even be tested anonymously. That means going in and being assigned a number and then calling back with just the number. We have those testing sites. We just posted it outside Mr. Lane's office. There'll be a poster in Mrs. Salmonson's office, in the library, and around the school, so you know where different testing sites are.
I'd like to add one more thing to what JP just said. About testing false negative, that's after 6 months.
Yes.
Within the 3 to 6 month period, you could test a false negative.
Right.
As far as the testing goes also, I think you should be aware of the fact that if you have engaged in any risky behavior, to go and be tested tomorrow or the next day is not going to do any good. You would have to wait at least 3 weeks. 3 weeks before you're being tested to get any positive results or any results. You can't have it done the next day or 2 days later. Also, just to re-emphasize however, the fact that if you're tested once negatively and then again in 6 months negatively without engaging in any risky behavior in between, you can be assured that you don't have the virus. You don't have to be constantly tested if you're not engaging in risky behavior. So the light is closed.
Thank you, Mr. Tardiani. Also in the library, besides the notice that's posted with the orange border around a bulletin board, I have a bunch of extra copies of the testing sites in the black holders labeled free materials right around the reference room door. So check the free materials area. There are extra copies of the testing sites there.
Thank you. Another question?
Can you get AIDS through oral sex just as easily as through intercourse?
Very good question. Can you get AIDS or HIV through oral sex as well as through sexual intercourse? Do any of the kids want to answer that first?
Well, you can get it through oral sex because in your mouth, your cheek cells, it's very moist, so you can get little tiny microscopic cuts. So semen can get in cuts and you can get HIV through oral sex.
And what does semen contain?
Semen contains the HIV virus.
White blood cells.
Yeah, white blood.
But is it easy?
All right, does anybody else want to add to that? Is it easier?
It's not as easy.
It's just as risky.
It's just as risky, yeah.
What about for a male to a female? You know, if say the male,
Yeah.
You guys don't have to answer these, you know, we have other people.
Well, vaginal secretions do contain white blood cells, so it does contain HIV virus, but not as much. So, yes, you can get it through oral sex from a male to a female.
What other ways? What's the other way? Oral, sexual intercourse?
Anal and vaginal.
All right, did they answer your question? Did anybody else want to add to that? Any of the teachers? No? Another question?
Is it all possible to be HIV positive and not pass it on? Like if you involve or
The question is it possible to be HIV positive and not pass it on? Who wants to answer?
Hear it?
No, they don't have to.
No, they don't want to.
Well, it's a risky behavior, so there's a chance of it always. So you don't want to risk it.
I think the question is, the question really is, if you engage in risky behavior with someone who's HIV positive, are you going to contract the disease? And that depends on your makeup and a lot of other things. So that's a hard question to answer. is it 100%? If you engage in risky behavior with someone who's HIV positive, you're 100% sure you're going to contract the disease? No, I don't believe that's true. But what is the risk factor? I'm not really sure. That's a really good question for the speaker tomorrow. The speaker tomorrow is someone who can speak from personal experience. He is HIV positive. He's a young person, and I think that that's something that he probably has a better answer for.
It depends also on your immune system. It's like somebody that has infectious mono. We all know infectious mono is highly infectious. Is it are you automatically going to get that from your best friend? No. It depends upon your own immune system and what's happening and how susceptible you are to that virus. Okay.
Also, if white blood cells come in contact with white blood cells that are infected, so that doesn't always happen. So that's
And also, it seems that women get it from men more easily than men get it from women. Because there's more of a chance.
And sharing a needle is really, really risky. That is, when you're sharing a needle, what you're doing is you're basically infusing yourself with the disease if you're sharing a needle with infected blood. So that I think is a pretty good chance of prevention. Other questions? Oh, what's the percentage of HIV that turns to AIDS?
Well, it's 100%. It's just that it's the time. Well, the question is, what is the percentage of HIV turning to AIDS? And the real factor is how long it will take until it turns to AIDS. It will turn to AIDS, but it's how long it takes. It could take a couple of months or it could take a couple of years.
What we know is that statistically, 64% of people who have tested positive for HIV have contracted AIDS today. I think that was January 1st, actually. It's 64% of the people who tested positive for HIV did contract AIDS. What we believe is everyone that has HIV, that it will eventually turn to AIDS. But what we know is that currently, of all the people tested for HIV, 64% of them have contracted AIDS. They either now live with AIDS or they have died with AIDS.
Another question?
Would you be able to tell us if students in the school have tested positive? And how many, if any?
The question is, would I be able to tell you if any kids in this school tested positive for HIV, and if so, how many? Well, do you guys want to answer that question first?
That's what we do.
Well, huh? Can I answer that question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Must be fat.
No, I cannot answer that question because anybody that gets tested for HIV, the results are confidential. I may not know, no one in this school, no adult in this building may ever know if anybody is HIV positive. I'm sure you've all read about the big rumor at Milford High School. Yes?
Did you hear it? About all the rumors here.
What?
About all the rumors that are going around.
All right, there's a question here, what about the rumors here? Has anybody heard a rumor about kids being HIV infected here? How many of you heard that rumor?
I heard one.
All right, I'm going to address that rumor. I tried spreading around the rumor that I was pregnant to see how many people I heard it. See, you heard it. All right, what happened? A rumor is a rumor is a rumor. What happened is that rumor started surfacing around the time we started doing the junior HIV/AIDS program. And what happened, I think, and maybe these kids can answer it because maybe they heard something different, is that kids started getting a little bit of education about AIDS and HIV. Because of that education, they got worried about the risky behaviors that they were engaging in, or possibly engaging in. So there are a number of students, as you all well know, that are engaging in risky behaviors, and because of the education that they have, availed themselves of some possible HIV testing. Now, how many of those kids went and got tested? I don't know. How many of those tests came back negative versus positive? I don't know. Am I aware of any kids that are HIV positive in this school? No, I'm not. Okay? So you have to treat a rumor like a rumor, and it is a rumor. Anybody else want to address that?
Well, I think that the fact is that it's 1 in 5 in the Worcester community. 1 in 5 people are HIV virus. And that's a lie.
1 in 5?
But you have to understand, I'm going to have JP hopefully address this if you want the statistics.
I'm right.
Everybody here has been bombarded with statistics, okay, about HIV and AIDS infection. And I think what Scott is referring to is a national study that was done a couple of years ago in college campuses around the United States that said there's a possibility that 1 in every 5 kids on college campuses around the United States are HIV infected. And I think where he got that. Mr. Statistic.
Just a quick comment. Go ahead.
I think an important comment in relation to this is that a significant number of people who do develop full-blown AIDS are usually in their middle to late 20s when that happens. Since AIDS takes approximately 10 years of an incubation period, that pretty much tells us that those people contracted the virus during their teen years. So it would appear that the teen years are an especially risky period of time for people to be engaging in these behaviors. So, that's why we're focusing on the high school here.
In terms of statistics, I don't have a statistic on HIV positive in Worcester County. I do have the AIDS statistic for Worcester County. There are only 235 people who are currently carrying that diagnosis in Worcester County, for the whole of Worcester County.
But isn't that only the people who are aware of it? Is probably
those are the people who are currently being treated for AIDS and have been diagnosed as AIDS. I don't have the statistic. I thought I did have the statistic on HIV positive. There is a statistic. We'll get that for you tomorrow. We also know, to add to what Mr. Baer said, teenagers is the largest growing group right now. The latest statistics from the Center for Disease Control tells us that in the last 2 years, the number of teenagers, which they include people between 13 and 24, has increased by 80% over the last 2 years prior to that. And currently, there are 9,000 cases of AIDS, not HIV, but AIDS, in the age group 13 to 24 in the United States.
Well, it's just that the numbers that we have, only 1 in 7 people that have the HIV virus know they have it. So of the cases that we know of, that's only 1 in 7. So there could be 7 times as many because they just don't know about it. They don't get tested on it.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, you donate blood, they test it, and it comes out HIV positive, will they notify you, or they have to, or whatever like that?
Yes, they will notify you, and yes, they will notify you.
Go ahead.
Medication now treat AIDS, symptoms of AIDS, or does it prevent HIV from
Does the medication they have now, which you're referring to as AZT, and there's a new one, is it used to treat AIDS, or is it used for HIV, to prevent HIV from becoming AIDS? Is that your question? What they're doing, when AZT first came out, they used it just for diagnosed cases of AIDS, but what they're doing now is if you test positive for HIV, HIV, they start you on this medication, and what they're finding is that it's prolonging people's lives and preventing them from getting sick with the AIDS virus. It's not a cure. Medication, I think there is no cure for HIV or AIDS right now. And good question for Michael tomorrow.
How much would it cost for all the medication before you died from AIDS?
How much would it cost for somebody to be treated with the medication for HIV and AIDS? That's another good question for Michael tomorrow, because I believe Michael's probably on that medication. It's astronomical.
It's also not covered by insurance.
Sometimes.
Right.
Okay, I think this person up here in the back.
He said that if you get a cut and it turns to a scab and the scab falls off, can you get AIDS or HIV from the scab? Well, it's AIDS and HIV dies when it hits air, but because you have, like if you have a droplet of blood, there's a lot of white blood cells in there, so it's not all dead, but HIV and AIDS dies when it hits air. So you have to come in direct contact with white blood cells immediately.
Mr. Bear, would you like to address human biology?
Yeah, well, the whole focus of the AIDS infection, of the HIV infection, is a blood-to-blood infection. You have to have white blood cells, viable white blood cells, carrying the viable virus, infecting another part of the bloodstream, another person's bloodstream. So you're talking about transferring live white blood cells to other live white blood cells. The virus lives in a particular type of white blood cell. That's the only place it can live. It can't live anywhere else. It's the only place it can survive. It reproduces inside that white blood cell. It then destroys that white blood cell and spreads to other living white blood cells. So to have an active infection, you have to have live white blood cells from the person who was infected and live white blood cells from the person that you are infecting. And if those conditions cannot be met, then the infection will not be spread. But again, the focus is the behaviors which will allow that type of transfer to take place. I don't think we ought to be concerned with the biology as much as we ought to be concerned with the behaviors that could allow the biology to take place.
Okay, before you leave, I want to remind you that tomorrow, the activity at the end of the day, very good speaker, Michael Porcio,
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Corcio. I'm a 1988 graduate of Assumption College. I'm a graduate of the Worcester Public School System, South High School. I was accepted at Worcester Academy in St. John's, but I couldn't afford to go to either of them, so I went to a public high school. Most importantly, however, the reason why I'm here today is to share with you the fact that I'm HIV positive, which means, from a statistical standpoint, at some point in my life, unless I get hit by a bullet, a bus, or eat too much cafeteria food, I stand an extremely good chance of contracting any one of the 3-page long list of AIDS-defining conditions, which are all fatal, which have at most experimental treatment which cause horrific, painful, emotionally and physical death. Some of the more well-known diseases that people contract when they go from HIV positive to AIDS is Kaposi sarcoma, which is a skin cancer, which is a series of skin lesions that you develop that renders people indecipherable as the person you used to know, and oftentimes indecipherable as human beings. I remember visiting my friend Stephen in the hospital in the mid-'80s, and thank God for him, he was blind, because he couldn't see my facial and physical reaction when I saw him. I not only did not recognize him as Stephen, I almost didn't recognize him as a human being. The lesions had so ravaged his face and his body. I had a friend, and I still have a friend spiritually speaking, Mario, who when I came back from New York City, after living there for a short time in the mid-'80s, I heard through a group of friends of mine that Mario had AIDS. And I called Mario, and as tactfully as one can say, after talking about the Celtics and life in general, Mario, is it true you have AIDS? And he said to me, no, Mike, it's just a vicious rumor. I have a skin irritation. I'm getting some treatment for it. And 3 months later, I was extremely busy with college at the time and working. I got a phone call at work one night from a friend of mine, and Mario had died. Talk about lack of closure. I never got a chance to say, Mario, I love you, I care about you, and you're going to be all right, and you're not a leper. But in the mid-'80s, when people contracted KS or pneumocystis carini or toxoplasmosis or cytomegalovirus or any of those 3-page long list of diseases, they pulled away from society if they weren't kicked out of society by their family, friends, lovers, and more importantly, society in general. It's just 2 people that I know. There's a lot of other people I've lost, a lot of friends I've lost, close friends. So what you need to know is that there's a lot more than just the words, my name is Michael, I'm HIV positive. That's just a set of words. You know, in the 90s, we have a lot of phrases, liberal and conservative, friend and enemy, yuppie, geek, rich, poor, and now in light of AIDS, we have PWA, person with AIDS, HIV positive, or more ignorantly referred to as infected. I'm here today to share with you the fact that I am not a victim, I didn't deserve this, and I'm not infected. My name is Michael. I'm HIV positive, but I'm a human being. And I didn't lose my humanity when I was diagnosed HIV positive. You all know conceptually pretty much how you get it, how you don't get it. You all know conceptually the epidemiology of what it is we're talking about here. But what you need to know is that HIV/AIDS does not affect the handout that you read. That's just paper and ink. And it doesn't affect the TV screen when you see a docudrama or when you see a courageously and bravely presented presentation by your peers who have the courage to take this thing on and try to educate you. It doesn't affect any of those mediums directly. It affects people. People with flesh and blood that cry, that laugh, that watch MTV, that wear Levi 501s. I'd have mine on. I'm just at work today. I did take my tie off, though. It affects people. And in light of that, I want to share with you the fact that, I'm one person. I'm one face of many faces that have been directly affected by this. What you need to know is that we have all, whether you choose to look at this or turn your back and be in denial, something we all share a common dose of, this has affected all of us indirectly. If nothing else, it's affected you through taxes. So in light of the fact this has affected me, let me tell you a little bit about myself. And it is peripheral whether you walk out of here and you like me or not. But when you walk out of this room, you will at least trust me because I will tell you the unadulterated truth. I make this little 18-inch incision, figuratively speaking. I open myself up to you not for shock value, not to promote me, but so that if nothing else, you can distill from this experience that he told you the truth. I was born in Worcester in 1960. My mother's name is Mary. My father's name is Martin. He died when I was a year old. At about 4 years old, my mother married a black man in the 60s. There was no quote-unquote jungle fever back in the 60s. And for 10 years, she was married to Gordon. I have a younger brother, Heath, who is half black, whom I love dearly. My mother has since divorced from Gordon. I have a brother, Johnny, a year older than me, who is severely mentally retarded. I have a brother, Tommy, who is in his mid-40s, a hippie left over from the 60s. My mother used to hang out with Abby Hoffman. She was extremely active in anti-war protests and about breaking down the discrimination that so permeates our society. From that, I developed a desire to affect social change. So from an RFK or an MLK-esque perspective, I wanted to affect social change. I wanted to become a lawyer and a politician. I did, however, lose my Messiah complex when I was 18. It takes more than one. At 18, however, by the way, when I was in high school, I played a lot of sports too. Basketball, baseball, and I captained my high school tennis team. I used to play on the same basketball team as Rich Gedman, former catcher of the Red Sox, when I used to play at the boys' club for 3 years. At 18, I began to deal with something that was extremely difficult, and I can say after 14 years, it is not an issue. But I share this with you to be honest, and not to promote any sort of lifestyle, but to be honest with you about who I am. I happen to be a well-adjusted gay male. Now, for any of you who are in a major case of denial, and if this provides you a big picture window to jump out, so to speak, please realize that the HIV virus is simply that. It is a virus. It is something you can't see with your naked eye. You can barely see with an ultramagnified microscope. Therefore, following from that, quite logically, is the fact that it doesn't have a brain to pick and choose between social groups. And it doesn't pick and choose between people who have a lot of sex and a little bit of sex. It doesn't even pick and choose between people who have had a little bit of sex and no sex at all. God rest Ryan White's soul. And God help the ignorant individual who kicked over his gravestone after Elton John and the press left and he spray-painted, or she spray-painted, fag on his gravestone. God help that individual. It doesn't pick and choose between rich and poor, black and white, IV drug user and non-IV drug user. There is a landmine out here for each and every one of you, student and faculty and politician and parent alike, for you to step on if you make the mistake that I made. So I'm gay. It's a very peripheral point, but for the sake of being honest with you, I share that with you. I was accepted at Clark University at 18 with a full academic and athletic scholarship. However, I dropped out after my first semester because I really had a hard time dealing with the fact that I was gay. I remember the first time I ever went out to a club. I vividly remember this experience. A green Monte Carlo pulled in the parking lot of a local gay club I was going to, and 5 or 6 men got out of the car, surrounded me, and I don't think they were there to have tea with me. By the way, we're going to talk about a lot of difficult stuff today, so if you need to laugh, cry, or leave the room, please do that, because it's important to vent what you're feeling, and I won't be offended. And if I say something funny, please, by all means, laugh. So, they weren't there to have tea with me. Very good. There's a pulse out there. It's good to see there's a pulse out there. So they surrounded me. And I said, I'll take any one of you on alone. And of course, there was no verbal response, and they beat the shit out of me. And then they poured beer on me. Now, I ask you who the man was in that situation. So I had a tough time for about 5 or 6 years. I tried to quote-unquote find myself. And at 24, after returning from New York City and realizing there were a million other guys trying to become the next James Dean, I enrolled at Assumption College, where I went 4 straight years, day classes. I remember what an 8:30 class is all about. Worked 20 to 25 hours a week to pay my way through, and I graduated with a 3.0 cum, top third of my class. And I also became a long-distance runner. And at that time, I ran 5 marathons within 2.5 years, the last of which being a 2:48.03, which breaks down to 6 minutes, 26 seconds a mile, which officially qualified me for Boston in '85. Then I hit the books. And after doing dismally on the LSATs, didn't get into law school, I realized, well, I got to work. So I now work at an insurance company as an investigator, the Travelers Insurance, which has been extremely supportive of what I'm doing, what we're doing. We are doing this. I was training for what was going to be my 6th marathon. March 6, 1991 marathon, Cape Cod. It was in Hyannis. And to train for a marathon, you have to run. By the way, we are going to talk about AIDS. We're coming home. March 6, 1991 marathon. To train for a marathon, you have to practice for about 3 or 4 months of 10, 15, 20 miles a day, every day. When it's cold, when it's hot, when it's snowing, when it's raining, you run. And Jilly, if you're in this room, I remember doing like a 20-mile run once and freezing almost every extremity on my body that day and soaking in your mother's hot tub that she so generously provided for me. So anyways, 2 or 3 weeks before the race, I came down with a flu. And as I have done, and many runner friends of mine have done, I made an appointment to see a doctor so I could get a script for penicillin. In our warped minds, we think that if we get a script for an antibiotic, it kills the flu quicker than sweating it out. You don't want a stupid-ass virus to ruin 3 or 4 months of training for something so important to you. A lot of long hours and long runs. I went to Fallon Clinic. I didn't have a doctor at the time, so I just saw anyone. And when I went in there, this female doctor said to me, she enlightened me with her 10 or 12 years of medical experience to the fact that I had the flu. I said, well, thank you. And while I was there, you know, she examined me and she gave me my script for penicillin. Before I left, however, impulsively, I didn't plan it. I said I'd like the HIV/AIDS test. I had been tested 3 years prior. I tested negative, which meant I was all right. But within that 3-year frame, I had unsafe sex twice with a man I was in a relationship with, a monogamous relationship, twice. Irrationally in my mind, despite the fact I was AIDS aware, despite the fact that I had done fundraisers and had been aware of what this thing was all about before it was even called AIDS, when it was ignorantly referred to as GRID, gay-related immunodeficiency syndrome. I knew what it was all about. I knew how you contracted it. But I remember the afternoon that I said, I can get away with it this time. I can run 26.2 miles. If this thing enters my system, somehow, because I'm so strong, it'll just kill it. Yeah, I was in denial too. So I'm not here to lambaste you because of your denial, of which you're all in to varying degrees. I left her office with my script. I didn't really think much about the test. She said 10 days for the results. I called my mother, let her know, because I have a very good relationship with her. We're friends. Well, my mother, as most mothers, called me back 3 days later and said, are the results in? I said, Ma, it takes 10 days. I told you that. After 8 or 9 days, I called too. Because it started dawning on me after 5 or 6 days that this was the most ultimate test I would ever take. Provides you quite a window into your future. So, after 8 or 9 days, the results weren't in. After 15 days, a Friday, they weren't in. On the Sunday, the 17th day, I went to the Abbey out in Spencer, St. Joseph's Abbey. I am a very devout Christian. I believe very strongly in God, have a personal relationship. And while I was there at Vespers, which is a 20-minute long service, of which you do nothing, you don't receive communion, you don't genuflect, they don't pass a basket, and I won't be passing one either. You just listen to the Gregorian chants, get centered between you and your God or your higher power or Buddha or Elijah. I don't care what you believe in. I hope you believe in something, because believe it or not, for all you scientists in the room, there is something greater out there than us. Reason only takes you so far. And halfway through, they always say a prayer. They change the prayer every day of the year, and there are a million prayers in the Bible or the Torah or whatever book you read. And the prayer they chose that day, and I didn't put 50 cents in the Coke machine to select it, was from St. Paul to the Corinthians. And I have this piece of paper that I wrote it down on immediately when I left, and I have pulled this piece of paper out about 100 different times in 100 different places. And it goes as follows. And mind you, my mindset is, will I be able to run this race? And in the back of my mind, showing you where my priorities were, I hope I test negative. Do you not realize that though all the runners in the stadium take part in the race, only one of them gets the prize? Run like that to win. Every athlete concentrates completely on training. And this is to win a wreath that will wither, whereas ours will never wither. And essentially what I got out of that prayer was, one, it broke down that mystery that, how the hell does God have a personal relationship with 4 or 5 billion beings? I could never understand that. I can't keep up with my 20 friends. But yes, he does listen. Maybe not with lightning bolt miracles or apparitions, but he does listen. He was saying to me, Mike, look, you've run a lot of road races. You've won a lot of quote-unquote laurel wreaths, a lot of trophies. But they, along with you, and each and every one of you, will die corporeally, will wither corporeally someday. There's a more important race that we're all called to run. And I don't care if you're a Christian or whatever. Now, the race is to be true to yourself and true to what you believe in. Because I believe there is an objective good out there. And there is an eternal prize that you win. You do last forever. And the way you touch other people, and more importantly, how you touch this world, how you affect this world. AIDS has already affected us. We can affect it. I think also what he was trying to do was to prepare me, and I don't mean he. I don't attach gender to God. I think what he was trying to do was also trying to prepare me for the many obstacles that lie out there in your journey to whatever you're trying to attain. You try to prepackage your life all you want, go K through 12, 4 years of college and 3 years of law school, and have the house, 2.6 kids, and the dog Millie, and a 2-car garage. But if you don't think you're going to come across obstacles, you're being unrealistic. 2 days later, I was in the office at work, in an open-air environment. I don't have a private office. Phones are ringing. Files are open. We're chasing down crooked lawyers and doctors, and I get this phone call from my roommate, Matt, and he said, Mike, your doctor called. Without thinking that maybe I should go home and take this call or go to a private office, I just impulsively called. I had a file open in front of me. The nurse came on. She said, Mike, your doctor will be with you in a couple of minutes. And that couple of minutes sure as hell seemed like an eternity. I had a Kit Kat candy bar on my right hand. By the way, they do melt in your hands. The doctor came on after a couple of minutes. And without asking me where I was, if I had any support, if anyone was holding my hand, she just blurted out, Michael, I'm really sorry. I didn't have to hear anything else after that. But she said, Michael, I'm really sorry. Your test came back positive. I'm sure that each and every one of you in this room, students and faculty alike, have not studied for a certain exam, and the teacher is passing out the results for your reputation's sake, face down, and you gingerly flip it over, and in the upper left-hand corner, circled in red ink, is a 54 instead of a 94. And then you flip it back over, and you try to unsee it. Well, it's branded there, it's in ink. And what I felt immediately when I heard the words, I'm sorry, you're positive, it felt, and felt is the operative word, it felt as if I heard, Michael, you're going to die. Because I have seen the emaciated faces of people who have AIDS. I have read all the stats that you've read. I deal with reality. I know where we are medically, research-wise with this. And it's not a pretty picture. There is hope, but it's a terminal condition at this point. And so immediately I felt like I was going to die, and I couldn't unsee that red ink. And she's still babbling, by the way, saying, oh, there's hope, and you can do this, and we're going to send you here. And she's still babbling. I got the phone over here, and I brought it back, and polite to the very end, I said to her, thank you for your time, and I hung up the phone. If you've ever had practice after school and you didn't eat lunch, your legs feel like rubber, your face gets really flushed. I felt all of that when I tried to get up. And thank God I had a supervisor, Mary, who was extremely understanding. And she caught my face when I was walking across the room. I didn't have to tell her. And she got me to a closed office space. And she sat down. She was shaking. She was crying before me. I never cried when I was at the office. I didn't know what to do. You know, there is no crash course in how to prepare for when you hear your terminal condition, what it is. You're all going to die of something someday. I hope your terminal condition is old age. But at 31 years old, in the height of my physical, emotional, spiritual life, it was extremely shocking and tragic to hear that news and to hear it at work. And all I kept saying was, oh my God, a million times. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? God, not me, not me. And I just kept saying, I kept walking back and forth, and Mary's sitting there crying. What do you do? And what does she say to me? My roommate came and picked me up. I didn't think, you know, that I could negotiate red lights and pedestrians. And he picked me up, and I got home. We didn't say a word the whole way home. By the way, he is my platonic roommate. Not all gay people sleep together. And we sat in the dining room, and I bawled my eyes out. Yes, I cried for 3 or 4 hours. And for anyone in this room who thinks that crying is a sign of weakness, and if anyone has led you to believe that, you and they need some immediate therapy after this session. Crying is the complete opposite. It means you have the courage to be who you are at the moment. Don't ever care what your friends say to you, because your friends don't pay your rent. Have the courage to deal with who you are at the moment. And you know, by the way, for all you tough macho types, you can suppress that shit all you want, but it will manifest itself in another way. So be true, be real, invest in yourself, deal with your feelings. So I bawled my eyes out for 3 or 4 hours. And the tough thing about this is I allotted myself 3 or 4 hours to deal with this. And then I had to come to, because I had to figure out how am I going to tell my mother, how am I going to tell the rest of my friends. You know, HIV, AIDS, leukemia, cancer, any life-threatening condition doesn't just affect the person who's directly diagnosed. It affects everyone. I lit this candle over here for the 20 people in the United States alone, as we speak, that are dying. And dying is more than just a set of letters that form a word and a couple of syllables. Dying is a difficult process that takes with it not just the person who dies, but the people that surround that hospital bed if he or she is fortunate enough, because many parts of them die with him or her. And as we speak, 20 people are choking to death because of pneumocystis carini, or writhing in pain because of KS, or any of those 3-page long list of horrific diseases. So let that be a reminder, and for the many hundreds of thousands of people in this country that have died, and by the way, did pay their taxes to this great melting pot called America, which turned its back on them for 3 or 4 years. Enough about me. I'm here just to give you the perspective that it happens to people. It's not a stat, and you all know that, and some of you directly. And I applaud the students at this school for taking the progressive stand and attitude and direction to do what you've been doing. I've seen it in the press. These halls and these walls are here not as punishment for you. Sometimes it feels like that. I remember what it was like to be a high school student. I'm here to let you know I understand your perspective. I know that some of you are going to have to leave pretty soon. I understand your perspective. The only way I'm going to reach you is not to stand behind a podium and lecture. You don't need prepared notes to speak from the heart, and you don't need a microphone to amplify the call that we all have to respond to this as Christians, and if not as Christians, at least as human beings. But how do I reach you? How do I break down the denial that all of you suffer to some degree? If I, in a gay group that I, am part of, high risk, extremely aware about this, if I could be in denial, if I could make the irrational, stupid, insane, ignorant mistake that I made a couple of years ago, I can only begin to wonder the degree of denial that each and every one of you have. You're young, you're invincible, you think that nothing can affect you, you fall, you get up. When you fall when you're 31, you get up, you feel it. By the way, I just ran a marathon Monday, though I'm still kicking. I understand you guys are extremely controlled. In your home environment, your parents tell you what time to get up, what time to go to bed. To get up, you are going to school, you're not sick, what you're going to have for dinner, how much money you can spend, who your friends can be. Don't drive too fast, don't drink, don't drug, don't have sex, and don't do this and that. You get to school, you're not in patrol lines anymore, but like field mice, you're directed by bells. No one politely comes and says, Mary, it's time to go to English. There are bells, and if you're late, then you get demerits. You need a pass to go to the bathroom. Is that still true? There's an extreme amount of control. Then you get back home, you're controlled again. You go to sports teams, they tell you, do it better, and do it yesterday. Same thing with work. So it's a wonder that you all escape through MTV, VH1, an occasional drink. Statistically, I know you're doing it. An occasional joint. Most of us have done that. These are not ideal escape routes, and some of you through sex. So the last thing you want to do with all this control is to listen to some Dr. Ruth wannabe tell you what to do when passion affects you on Friday or Saturday night, or maybe Tuesday night. It doesn't plan itself just for the weekend. Sometimes us men wake up with things that are called hard-ons. And there's no, I'm talking reality here, okay? So what I'm here to tell you is I understand your perspective, but the last thing that I want you to feel as though I'm like your father or your brother telling you don't drink or don't drug or don't do this or that. Let me tell you something. If you drink, you develop a problem, you can get rehabbed. If you do drugs, and I had a small problem with cocaine for a couple of years, and I was rehabbed, and it's been 8 years since I've touched the shit. And if you drive too fast and you hit a tree, oftentimes you can walk away from it, and sometimes they can get you out of there and mend your bones. But if you step on the landmine that I stepped on, that is out there for everyone in this room, you will never, ever, ever get rehabbed. You will never, ever, ever, ever be negative again. I have woken up every day since I was diagnosed, and I am still positive. And I'm on AZT. And I wonder how much longer it's going to work. I'm on this medical melting iceberg of hope. They say it lasts for about 2 or 3 years. So I'm telling you that I'm not here to tell you what to do. I am here to tell you that, yes, the best way to avoid this is to abstain from sex. I do strongly support that you all abstain from sex. But I also support something much more important than that. You're here to learn the truth. You're not here to learn someone else's moral attitude or philosophical attitude. You are in these halls, these hallowed halls called an educational institute, to hear the truth and not some warped view of it. The truth is that 7 out of 10 of you, by the time you graduate, will have had sex. And oftentimes in the plural. And oftentimes with a different partner. The reality is that you're doing that. I'm not here to give up on the hope that you abstain, but I am here to deal with what's called triage. When you go in a hospital emergency room, if someone's bleeding, you treat them. You don't ask them how they got cut. And the triage of truth here is that you are having sex. I want you to hear the truth, and I want you to have the option of knowing how to protect yourself and the options of a condom to use if you are going to step over that gray line and have sex. A very important point for all of you to know is you have many options in life. You have an option to have sex or not to have sex. And I strongly support that you don't until you're in a monogamous, loving relationship. Because there's something much more wonderful than sex out there, and it's called making love. Sex is a raw, unemotional experience that promotes nothing but an orgasm. I hope, if you're going to leave, please leave quietly. I hope that you choose making love. If you do step over the gray line from having sex, not having sex to have sex, you don't have to have intercourse. You can have an orgasm through the means of outer course, mutual masturbation, rubbing of bodies against each other. There are many different ways to achieve an orgasm. You don't have to put your life at risk because condoms are not 100% safe. I strongly support them being available to you. But not just so you can put money in the machine and get something without a message. You need to know that there are options that you have. I want to open up the floor now to questions, and I will stay here as long as there are questions. Who has the first one? By the way, if I can stand up here in front of you and sweat and open myself up to who I am to you, please have the courage to ask a question, invest in yourself. Who's the first brave soul? Back row. Your first name? Ellie. Hi, Ellie. Excuse me? Okay, Ellie's question is, do I have to pay for all the medicine myself? All right, I am on AZT. I'm going to give you a quick crash course in what it is and why I'm on it and how much it costs, et cetera, et cetera. Your immune system, and pay attention here. Graceful. I'm not a bio major, so I'll try to make this real simplistic. Your immune system is this set of cells within your body which react to when something foreign enters your body. Microbes, stuff in the air, stuff in this water, stuff on fresh fruit, vegetables, this or that. Great thing about your immune system is it's a different set of cells to react to the different types of things that enter your body. They don't send out the same team, all right? And the most important cell in the immune system is the T cell. The T cell helps to orchestrate how all that happens. It sends out the halfbacks for this virus. It sends out the ends for that virus. Okay? Now, the tough thing about the AIDS virus is that it doesn't kill the little plebs, the little front line men. It kills the T cell. So the way you judge how strong your immune system is by counting per cubic milliliter of blood how many T cells you have. Now, a normal immune system has between 700 and 1,300 T cells. You get a bad virus, you can go below that. Don't freak out. It doesn't mean you have HIV. If you go below 500, though, and you're HIV positive, they put you on AZT. AZT, or clinically known as retrovir, because this is a retrovirus, what it does is, say this is the cell, this big circle here, healthy cell. At one site on the cell wall, on the protein, the AIDS virus comes along, and it's like a lock and key thing. The AIDS virus being the key, and there's little sites on the cell wall that it can fit in and get in. Now, AZT helps to screw up the AIDS virus from being able to figure out where the hole to the lock is. It only works for a couple of years. After a couple of years, that virus, which is extremely intelligent and mutates itself and changes itself to fit the environment, gets in. And once it gets in the cell, it erases the cell's memory of how to duplicate itself to make more healthy cells, and it transplants its own little memory chip of how to make another AIDS cell. So you get, this growth of AIDS cells. AZT slows the growth of that, but only temporarily. The tough thing about AZT or DDI or DDC or compound Q or any of the experimental drugs that are out there, they all have some dangerous side effects. AZT affects your liver. DDI and DDC affect your pancreas. Sometimes you get sick to your stomach taking them, and they are, to directly answer your question, Ellie, about $3,500 to $4,000 a year. If you have insurance, it pays for 80%. If you have no insurance, sometimes the state will pick it up for you. But I know friends, I have friends in support groups. I have a 21-year-old acquaintance of mine in the support group who chooses sometimes, with the money in his hand, between the drug that keeps him alive or money for rent or money for food. Some tough decisions at 21. Next question, left field. Your first name is? Hi, Michelle. Okay. Michelle's question is, when I was tested HIV positive, did I alert the person I slept with? And have I alerted, the other people that I slept with? Because I could not wear white to a wedding. Most of us couldn't either. I was in a relationship, a monogamous relationship, for about 7 or 8 months with a man. And I say man, it's not a person. I'm quite comfortable with who I am. Who tested positive before I found out about myself. He has now developed AIDS. He's had 3 bouts of pneumocystis. And I told him about myself, but it was pretty obvious to me how I contracted it. I'll wait for these people to leave, and if there's anyone left, I'll answer more questions. Let me wait till the rest of the people leave. Thank you. Okay, who has the next question? Yes.
What's your opinion? We talked a little about when people who have HIV and their doctors.
Could you all close that door back there? Okay, your first name is?
Marcy.
Hi, Marcy.
Should we be playing? People see the risk, but we're not sure. Should we be? What do you feel? Should doctors who have HIV still be able to practice, or should Magic Johnson be in this game? Or
Okay, why don't you, can you distill that to like the question is, okay, should doctors be able to, who are positive still be able to treat? Okay, the question is, should doctors who are positive or healthcare workers who are positive still be able to practice medicine? By all means, they should be able to still practice something that they've taken many years to develop a talent for, and a talent that's extremely needed. However, if they were to still practice medicine or surgery or stuff like that, obviously they're going to need to take universal precautions. You know, it is a virus that, yes, you can contract. I think most of you know the epidemiology of how you contract it. It is a blood-to-blood contact type of thing, or semen to blood, or a vaginal secretion to blood, or breast milk to baby type of thing. It can be avoided. My humanity has not ceased to be because I'm positive. I am still able to do all of the things that I used to do, including being in a loving relationship with someone who's negative. I was able to do that, you know, for close to a year with someone, and practice extremely safe sex and be extremely honest. To answer your question directly, Magic should play basketball, doctors should practice medicine. You will have, like in the case of the lady from Florida, I forgot her last name, who got it through her dentist. Right, Kimber Gallus. Incidents where you have an individual who's kind of warped mentally and doesn't practice universal precautions and does some pretty crazy-ass things. But that is not reason to stop people from practicing medicine, or you can protect yourself. The other thing is, we live in a society where people kill each other, where people lie to each other, where people are extremely abusive to each other. People that will always be like that before AIDS, after AIDS, and during AIDS. Okay? But there are many people out there who still want to be human beings, and you can do that. All right, great. Next question. Yes, your first name is? Amy.
being HIV positive, you haven't experienced any sickness or anything?
Oh, I didn't say that. Amy's question is, have I experienced any symptoms from this? Okay. I am fortunately HIV positive, apparently, and I say apparently because I can't see what's going on inside my internal organs, and neither can the doctors in many instances. I'm apparently asymptomatic. However, I have about 200 T cells. They are going to have a legislative hearing pretty soon to make a new definition of what is HIV positive and what dictates someone having AIDS. At this point, it's having any one of the 3-page long list of conditions, which is, terminal. But now they're going to come out with something where you don't even have to have one of those conditions necessarily. You just have 200 T cells or below. Because once you go below 200 T cells, you become extremely privy to anything, sending your immune system further down, further compromised. So I'm going to have 200 T cells. I came in at 100. So I mean, I'm really in a tough space. The symptoms I've suffered have been nuisance-type symptoms. I've had night sweats, a couple of times. I've had some minor skin irritations, nasal, ear, orifice type of, problems. I mean, embarrassingly, I will admit to you, I had jock itch for 2 months, which usually can be something that can be treated. It was during the summer. I play a lot of sports, which you can usually treat and get rid of in a couple of weeks. But because my immune system is so compromised, it takes a while for things to get, back to status quo. I don't have anything that would define me as having AIDS at this point.
How many years have you been on the AZT?
I was diagnosed 13 months ago, 14 months ago. I've been on AZT for all of those except for 1 month. Next question. Left field. Yes?
How do you put up with the ignorant people in society who treat you as a person with HIV or treat you as a person?
Okay, and your first name is? Scott. Scott's question is, how do I deal with the ignorance that so often prevails especially in the United States? I'm going to answer your question, but I just want to say one thing. Like I said, I'm not here to lambaste you guys for your denial. Denial has permeated itself through this country in all levels. The government, the medical community, the gay community, the straight community, all groups have been in denial. The government, for a couple of years, it took them to get a bill passed for $2.5 million early on. The first direct AIDS money, $2.5 million, desperately requested by the CDC, Memo after memo sent to the president, memo after memo returned saying you're not being specific enough. Well, shit, they didn't know what the fuck we were dealing with. You know, that's what you have research for. The medical community, it's not as altruistic as you think it is. There are doctors out there who are so concerned about their egos and reputations and Nobel Prizes, like Dr. Gallo, who heads the National Institutes for Health, one of the leading researchers on this, who was more concerned about being the first one to find what this was, AIDS, that he thwarted the efforts of the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, part of the United States Medical Pulse, as the NIH. He thwarted their efforts because they were helping the French. Well, I mean, isn't this a worldwide epidemic? Isn't this something that we should all be working together on? He thwarted their efforts. And a couple weeks ago on 2020 with Sam Donaldson, all the evidence came to light. And he could only say as he was getting on the elevator to Sam Donaldson, "You jerk." You know? I mean, so don't be fooled by titles. And the gay community, various aspects of it have been in denial because we thought it was some, you know, bullshit claim by heterophobia, heterosexual America that's homophobic, that was afraid that, you know, we were having too much sex or something. You know, in the straight community, for, you know, various elements have been in denial. We've all been in denial. How do I deal with ignorance? I deal with my humanity. I have a lot of anger. But I also know that that stone wall called establishment is always going to be there, always. And so what you need to do is you need to learn how to go around it or to go over it. And for the most part, the energy and the passion that's in students like yourselves and some of your teachers and administration and the people that really care about humanity and not just themselves, that passion is bringing people up and over and around that wall and leaving it behind. So I've taken my anger, and as someone who's directly affected, if you think it's easy to stand up here, you're wrong. I've taken that anger and I've done something positive with it. You know, I'm still civic-minded. Next question. Yes. Your first name? Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Is everyone Rachel out here? Oh, you were Rachel. You were the one in the. Were you the one in the skit here? Someone told me from Bancroft to look for Rachel. Are you the one? There she is. Spotlight on Rachel. Okay. How you doing? Good.
I was just wondering, before you said that doctors with HIV or AIDS should practice, do you think that they should have to inform their patients?
Yeah, I think that if I were going to enter into a relationship with someone, am extremely honest before a handshake, although, I mean, I've been on the front page of the paper and on TV and stuff like that. I don't presume that people know about me. In a physical type of relationship, you could put someone at risk. I think a doctor or a dentist should be required to let their patients know, too. I don't, that's my opinion. I don't know that I'm right or wrong. But I think people, as someone in a relationship, also in a medical relationship, should have the option of at least going with that situation or not. Yes?
What do you feel about mandatory testing in the health profession?
Okay. Question is from Ellie, what is my opinion on mandatory testing in the medical profession? Okay. That's a very good question. And it's one that I don't have a concrete opinion on. I do have an opinion, however. And that is, this country is based on inalienable rights that we all have. And one of them, and it's what makes this country unique and great. And once you start opening what can become a Pandora's box of saying, well, we want to have the right to come in here or come in there or come in there to check out you or whatever and test you for this or test you for that, you start opening a Pandora's box. You start opening the door, which eventually will become wide open, and those will no longer be inalienable rights. And privacy will be something that doesn't exist anymore. On the other hand, that's why I don't support it. On the other hand, we live in a world where people not only lie to each other, they kill each other, they steal from each other. Most people have some pretty base instincts. So not everyone's going to be as extremely honest as I am or other people I know. So it's a tough call. What you need to know, though, and I think what answers the question more on the side I don't believe in testing, mandatory testing, is whether someone tells you or not they're positive. It'd be great if they told you. If you go out and have sex with someone, unless you're raped, which is not sex, which is a heinous criminal offense, If you have sex with someone, with is the operative word. You're doing something with someone else. You are making a decision to engage in an experience with someone. And you're doing it, and what you need to know is there's something much more than the obvious, the orgasm, the immediate gratification. There's this thing called the big picture. There is a possible unwanted pregnancy, another sexually transmitted disease, or now, in light of HIV/AIDS, an early death. So you need to look at the total picture. You need to look at the fact that not all people tell the truth. So when you engage and you make that decision, I'm going to enter into this experience with you and have sex with you, hopefully it's making love, you need to take into account that they might not be telling you the truth. So therefore, the reason for always practicing safe sex, you know, I mean, it's always going to be a potential out there. Did I answer your question? Yeah. Okay. And I'm not an expert. Yeah. Yeah. There are no experts on this, by the way, and, you know, it's just an opinion, but great question. Back row, on the far left. Or are you just stretching? Yeah, you. Okay. Do you have a question?
What about the doctors and the medical staff that are, you know, I mean, face it every day, the danger of it, and they don't know?
From the patients?
Yeah, the patients, you know what I mean?
Okay, so what is your question?
They should have right to know. I mean, people look at the patient, you know, there was a woman that contracted it from her dentist in Florida. A lot of the doctors and nurses that have to deal with these patients every day, you know what I mean?
Okay, so your first name is? Okay, Michelle, if I could distill that, I think what you're trying to ask me is, shouldn't doctors be made aware, or dentists be made aware of all the patients they treat in their status?
Well, I don't know, I just feel that, I mean, when they were asking about if the patients have a right to know, I feel that if the patients have a right to know, the doctors do as well. Because they're putting their life in jeopardy every day.
Okay, first of all, I don't support mandatory. Right, okay, that's the reason why you have mandatory, not mandatory, that's why you have universal precautions, rubber gloves, you know? And when they enter that profession, they know that there is the possibility of contracting things from their patients even before AIDS ever existed. There are many things you can get from people other than HIV or AIDS. That's why people wear gloves. My orthodontist didn't wear gloves, okay, until I told him about myself. Well, that was quite ignorant on his part, okay? But that's not my responsibility. That's his responsibility, and he should know that.
I agree, but I feel that it should be mandatory. I know you said you didn't agree with it, but I think that if there is no law that should say that doctors and health workers need mandatory testing, I think that it should be made public as well.
Okay.
Not public so that anyone can find out that he's treatment have patients that are carrying that.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and that's your opinion, and I don't think there's a right or a wrong opinion. I do respect your opinion. I don't support mandatory testing, however, because I think it invades privacy. Next question. And I'll just take 3 more. Yes?
Have you had any incidents with friends or groups that have neglected you, or how do you cope with it?
Okay, and your first name is? Okay, Mark's question is, have I had any experience with my friends or any groups or anybody that I know that have neglected me or discriminated against me or whatever? I have been extremely fortunate. I've only had like a couple minor incidents. Actually, one of them was with my brother, my older brother, who loves me and I love him. And he said to me, you know, after regaining his composure, after I told him, because it really affected him, he said, you know, Mike, but you're gay. Why are you having sex? And it took me a couple months to kind of like coach him along and educate him and say, you know, gay blood and straight blood are simply that. It's blood. You know, anyone can contract this. It doesn't matter what group you belong to. But he's been very receptive. I mean, I've heard, I was at a high school once and I was receiving an award there for having spoken there 4 times. And it was so ironic because during the question and answer period, this student out there in short left field said to me, so when did you decide to become a fag? And I said to him, well, after biting my tongue for about 7 or 8 seconds and the tape's going so you know you're under a microscope, I walked over to him and I said, to respond to your first statement, because it wasn't a question, I am no more a fag than a black is a nigger, a Jew is a kike, or an Italian is a wop. I'm a well-adjusted gay male. To answer what I think you were trying to ask, I said, I didn't put 50 cents in the Coke machine and push gay, and I didn't fill out a questionnaire. And if you filled one out, or there was a Coke machine somewhere that you push, lead me to it, because I want to know all about this, decision that's out there for all of us. So, last question. Yes, with the baseball cap.
Is it true that in like the early 80s, when research was first coming out about AIDS, the Reagan administration would not allow some of this information to be gone public, and like a two-part question, do you feel that the Bush administration is doing enough in terms of funding research and funding chemistry?
Okay, your name is? What is it? Ben. Ben's question is it true that some information regarding this virus and the research, going towards, its discovery, et cetera, was not made available to the public early on? From about 1979 on to about 83 or 84, during about a 4 or 5 year period, there were numerous, and now made for public viewing, memorandums. I'll just take one individual, from C. Everett Koop, who was the Surgeon General at the time. Memorandum after memorandum after memorandum after memorandum to our hallowed President Ronald Reagan, for our benefit, our former president. And he never, ever, ever responded directly to C. Everett Koop, who was one of the most respected Surgeon Generals in our country's history. Never responded. Numerous things never hit, the public. And it was only after they were embarrassingly caught in many of their lies, one of which was, oh shit, $2.5 million? You talking about that grant that you asked for? Well, we spent $20 or $30 million already on AIDS-related research. Do you know what they did? Every research dollar that was ever spent on this, finding the cure for the common cold or other immune system related things, they called that AIDS research. That's how they protected themselves. There was never a direct dollar spent on AIDS research until about 82 or 83. The city of San Francisco alone had spent about $5 million at that time, had spent more than the whole federal government. So to answer your question, yes, there are numerous things that were never brought to light. To answer your second question about President George Bush, George took on Magic Johnson, a wonderful, wonderful coup of tokenism. He's black, and he's positive. Well, Magic, and he did this, by the way, in November. Was this an election year? And Magic Johnson, thank God, is not just a basketball player, but he's got a brain upstairs. He said a couple of weeks ago, the Bush administration is doing bullshit compared to what should be done, and therefore I'm thinking quite seriously about resigning. I thought it was quite odd that for 18 months, George Bush, for 18 months, did not mention the AIDS word once. Once. So if he's not mentioning the word, oh, and then he said, I really feel like I haven't done enough here. Well, no kidding. I can't even mention the word. God knows what he's doing behind the scenes to help us. And us, that's the operative word. I'm going to end with that. It has affected us. Thank you. Hi. My name's Michael. Nice to meet you. How you doing? Hi. How you doing?